Hello and welcome to The Dish with Liz. My name is Liz Rodriguez. I'm a registered dietitian here to answer your most pressing questions. And today we have a really good one that I think many of you will relate to. And this comes from Susan from Oakland, California. She wrote and she said this: everything I eat is plant strong. This gives me no problem, but I am gaining weight, which tells me I'm eating too much. I have cut out most avocado and nuts. I don't eat anything processed other than some occasional tofu. I know I just eat too much food, and I don't seem to be able to stop. Any ideas for me? Susan. Hi, Susan. Great work on eating a whole food plant-based diet. That's wonderful. Now, because you indicated that you eat a plant-strong diet, I'm going to assume that you consume very little, if any, animal products. And for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to assume you consume smaller amounts of fat since you don't consume processed oils and you've cut back on nuts and avocados. This tells me that your food intake is largely carbohydrate based, since that's the most dominant macronutrient such as carbohydrate, fat, and protein in fruits and veggies. Now, when I work with someone who presents with this problem, who has a carb-based diet, I typically encourage them to increase the amount of fat consumed to help offset cravings and hunger. The reason being, Susan, that your body and particularly your brain, along with each cellular membrane, require fat to function. This makes sense since cellular membranes consist of three components: phospholipids, glycolipids, and cholesterol. Phospholipids are the largest of these three components, and they consist of saturated fat and unsaturated fat. So consuming the right balance of these nutrients is really vital for ideal body functioning and brain preservation. When you limit or restrict a macronutrient like fat, your body may compensate by seeking more food in whatever form it can manage. And in your case, that's mostly carbohydrate with some protein and maybe even a little fat. Of course, you can increase the amount of high-volume, low-calorie foods like non-starchy fruits and veggies. However, if your body isn't receiving adequate macronutrients, your cravings and hunger will persist. My first advice would be to add back the nuts, seeds, and avocado because they're a nutrient-rich source of essential fatty acids. Now, I'm not sure why you removed them in the first place, but my best guess would be that you're following the advice of a plant-based guru who suggests a low-fat diet for weight management and to reduce risk of heart disease. And if that's the case, then maybe you want to follow up with them. I, on the other hand, see significant value in including whole sources of fat in the diet. And I'm not talking about man-made, hydrogenated, or trans fats, or even most vegetable oils, which can quickly become rancid. But I do take a different approach here, because the body is largely made up of lipids, or fat. So when we restrict clean, whole sources of fat in the diet, we fail to equip our body with the energy it needs to function and thrive. And again, I'm not talking about fat from junk food or fast food, but instead from high-quality sources like nuts, seeds, avocados, and organic, free-range, grass-fed animal products. The proper amount of fat really varies for each individual, but it's really important to recognize that fat doesn't necessarily make us fat, and by avoiding it, we can do a real disservice to our body. Rather, it's the quality calories consumed and looking at what other processes are occurring in the body that matters most. The absolute best thing you can do, Susan, is to find a nutritional approach that works for you and your body. So to review, first, experiment with adding back nuts, seeds, and avocado to see if your hunger subsides. This usually works. Next, reevaluate your consumption of processed foods. When someone says that they don't eat anything processed, that raises a flag in my mind because upon closer examination, that's usually not the case. Now, I'm not saying that's true for you, Susan, but it's worth considering. If you're looking for more guidance in this area, consider signing up for a consultation with me by clicking on the service tab at eatyourveggies.com. Susan, I hope this segment gives you some insight and ideas to consider. I'll be discussing more on macronutrients and micronutrients in a future episode. Now I'd like to hear from you all. Have you ever noticed that by decreasing one type of food in your diet, it led to an increase in another? If so, tell me more in the comments below. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Be well, be wise, and most importantly, take care of you.